Hello, Michael Swain here after Kansas basketball's 83-60 loss to TCU, the second worst home loss of the Bill Self era, and it was a game that TCU really controlled from start to finish. KU led for a total of 37 seconds during the contest, and post-game the big thing Bill Self wanted to talk about was defense. And this is a game full of weird numbers. TCU entered the game averaging 3.5 made three-pointers a game in conference play. By far, the Big 12's worst three-point shooting team. They were shooting about 25% from beyond the arc. And then in the first half, they go crazy from three. They go 6 of 9 from behind the arc, almost doubling their average per game in Big 12 play in the first half. KU defensively really struggled. TCU was getting some good looks. They also hit some tough shots, but more often than not, they were decent looks for the Horned Frogs. And then in the second half, KU does a lot better defensively guarding the three-point arc, but they really struggled to defend the paint. And this is a game that I think the layup numbers probably tell you the story. TCU goes 15 of 20 at the rim, which is 75%. That's a really good mark, probably a little bit above average of what you'd expect. KU, on the other hand, goes 11 of 23, just under 50%. That's a lot worse than I think you'd expect, especially for a team that has guys that are you'd think are pretty decent around the rim. Jalen Wilson, Kevin McCullough, DeJuan Harrison, Grady Dick, guys that are pretty decent finishing around the rim, and they just couldn't. And I think, again, defense is the story of this game, and I think for Kansas, this is a team that is not looking like it did in December defensively. In December, when they were blowing teams out and turning teams over at an incredible rate, they were turned up. Everyone knew the scouting report. People knew where they were going to be, and they were in passing lanes and able to make big plays like that. You're just not seeing this now. And that's something that Bill Self really talked about post-game, was the scouting report and how certain players need to have a better idea of this player wants to do this player wants to do this, and being able to stop that. I thought he made a really interesting point, saying that, hey, in this Big 12, you have to make teams play poorly. And right now, Kansas is not making teams play poorly. They didn't make K-State play poorly, and they certainly didn't make TCU play poorly today. So now you're looking at a KU team that needs to bounce back and snap a back-to-back losses and make sure it doesn't turn into a losing streak now. I think big picture, 4-5 losses will get you close to the Big 12 title. I think 4 is probably what the champion will have. I think 5 could maybe get a share of it if things continue to be crazy in the Big 12. So at the end of the day, this is not the end of the world, but you still consider the fact they got to go to Baylor on Monday. You still have to go to Iowa State, and you still got to host a K-State team that's really good. So I think this loss is concerning defensively, because this is a team that needs to improve that in order to make one of those pushes in February. And traditionally, KU's losses have come in January. More often than not, late January is when some of these losses come. After all, it's Bill Self's worst month in terms of his winning percentage. So I just look at this team and I say, okay, I think you know what they're going to be offensively. Guys just need to make shots. Today they didn't, and really on Tuesday against K-State they didn't. Guys are getting open looks. Grady Dick is getting open looks. He's just not knocking him down. He will at some point. But defensively are the things that KU can control. They can play better defensively. They can know the scouting report. And even in the paint, I think this is a time when I think KJ Adams have been really good, but I think TCU is also a tough matchup. Lampkin's a good player, and they've got good size inside that can really challenge Adams, and I think he'll be better matched up for maybe some of the more slim forwards you see that maybe aren't as good posting up. So I think tough matchup for Kansas overall, but defensively they have to be better. So we'll have plenty of coverage up on Fog.net about this game heading into Big Monday against Baylor, but this feels like kind of the start of a really big stretch for KU, where they go to Kentucky, they have to go to Iowa State, they host Texas. A lot of tough games coming up, and it's a really important stretch for Kansas to bounce back from.